Hello and welcome to InfinEye Games. We seem to have spawned into City Skylines for the first video of the channel. So, let's get right into it and build ourselves a quaint little town. But before we begin, I would like to welcome everyone to the channel and hope you all enjoy the videos that are going to come up soon. So yeah, without any further ado, let's go and roll the intro. Okay, so let's first talk about the map that I'm going to be using for this series. So this map is called Austrian Alps Wolfgangsee and made by none other than Mr. Miyagi. So if you've played City Skylines before and you've ever used a map from the Steam workshop, then you would be familiar with Mr. Miyagi. And if not, well, he is one of the best map makers in the Steam community. So this map is based on a real place from Austria, based around the Lake Wolfgang. So the reason why I picked this map was, first of all, it seemed like a really nice, quaint little map based around a lake, which is not something that I use a lot. I usually go for rivers because using water and everything becomes a lot easier in terms of the flow and where to put the sewage treatment and all of that. But I wanted to change it up a little bit for this series, and I felt like this was a really nice map to do it on. The second reason was the actual building area. Now there's a lot of land in this particular map, but not all of it is usable because it's based around like a valley. So you don't have a lot of flat areas, so you need to be creative about it. You may need to make some changes in order to be able to get enough space. But also it means that I don't have to worry too much about traffic. I don't have to worry too much about building massive like residential areas. I can focus on aesthetics. I can focus on just making the town look good. And this is probably the only time I've ever considered making a town rather than a big city or a metropolitan. So yeah, I felt like it's a really nice map. And also if you look at the required items, it's pretty much vanilla. Mr. Miyagi himself recommends the theme. Now the theme, in case you didn't know, basically retextures a few things on the map. It adds a different color to it. It just makes it look just like the way the map maker intended it to. So do get the theme, and they're just two trees and really doesn't affect the game's performance a lot. So there's a pine tree and a live oak tree. Now before beginning to create anything on the map, I wanted to jump in and level some parts of the land, because now as this map is made based out of the texture of the actual map, so it has a few bumps and things that might cause issues when we start placing down buildings. So even though I've chosen a map that is based on a real place, I'm not really trying to recreate the area around the Wolfgang Lake. My idea is to build my own city. I just picked this map because it looked good. But yeah, if you know anything about City Skylines, if the terrain heights are not level, when you're making roads, when you're trying to place down buildings, it tends to screw up a little bit because it tries to normalize the level to the nearest rounding number. So it might go up or down based on which is the closest number that it can round off to. So I felt like it was wise to sort of level out some of the areas where I wanted to start to build. And yeah, so that's, it's not a long process depending upon how much you want to change in the map. I didn't want to ruin any of the natural hills or the rolling mountains on the sides, because if I feel like the town is too small, I can always go back in and make those changes. So once I was done leveling out the terrain, I wanted to basically pick a place where I wanted to begin building my city. Now, I'm not playing this game in an attempt to do the progression. I have unlimited money turned on, and I'm also having the simulation paused. My sole goal here is to create a nice looking city, and I don't want to worry about which is the starting square and all of those things. So I decided to pick a place which seemed like a large enough place that I can start building, I can start putting down things. And in order to get to that place, we didn't have a highway exit. So this is where I'm starting to create the highway exit. Now when I started building, I did not know that the exit ramp that I was building is gonna turn into one of the more common styles for the exits. I think it's called the clarinet, the trumpet exit. Not sure about the exact terminology, but I've seen this exit a lot, and if you actually after you have seen how it looks, you would realize that these exits are pretty popular on the workshop. So if you want to play along and you don't want to spend 15 minutes building this exactly how I've done, you can just go into Steam Workshop and get a similar looking highway exit. I'll try to put some in the video description. I'm also going to be adding the map in there, so if you want to play along, you can just go down into the description and get the map as well as this exit. So obviously I was talking about the terrain and how City Skylines handles leveling out the terrain and everything, and this is a great example of it. Even though I'm building in a 3-step elevation and it's supposed to be a direct slope, based on how the terrain rises over here, it doesn't keep the slope straight, so to speak. It doesn't keep the slope level, and you need to go in and make those changes. Sometimes you're actually gonna struggle to make it, so that's where Move It comes in handy. You can actually increase and decrease the levels in a more granular way, which the game in itself does. So you can always go into the elevation step slider over there and make those changes, but that's also from a mod. It's not present in the vanilla game. And as much as I love City Skylines, I honestly think that without the modding community, this game wouldn't have been as big and as popular as it is today. But with that said, I had to redo the roads, the exit, the one that I thought would be easier, but turned out the one that created a lot of challenges for me, and that was pretty much down to the elevation in the terrain that happens right at the end of this exit. But like I mentioned, I didn't want to change how the map was. Like, I didn't want to change too many things because then it loses the character. And yeah, I mean, I wanted to challenge myself to build on this rather I would say challenging terrain, which isn't flat like a plains or something like that. There is a nice little valley, and that's why I started here, because it gives me a nice little flat area to build with. but still, like slopes like these, I want to keep them because right now it might not be as obvious of how the terrain changes will make the final build come out. But eventually, once we get into the cinematics and everything, it does make a difference if you have slight inclines and all of that in the map. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to build the exit, and I think this is the point when I realized that, oh well, I'm building a pretty standard exit here. So yeah, that's about it for this. I'm just gonna continue to build the entrance into the highway. Just trying to make sure that both the bridges line up because of the gradual slope that's on the terrain. So basically what happens is, even if you have selected the same elevation for two bridges that are not on a very flat land, because of the rounding up and rounding down effect that City Skylines puts on when it calculates the elevation, even two bridges with the same elevation might not line up exactly. So you might just have to make sure that you go back in, move it, and just increase or decrease the height of either of the bridges to make sure that they line up properly. So that's what I'm gonna be doing, and I'll just continue to take the road further into the riverbanks in order to have our main road that allows us to branch off and then build the city. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. So I will let you guys enjoy the time lapse while I take a coffee break, and I'll be back. So right now, as you can see, I've started building a dirt road, which is not connected to the incoming road here. And I'm not doing that because I just want to have a village like layout prepared. I took some reference from some satellite views of the maps, and it's not exactly a village. So what I took reference from was from the map of the Wolfgang Lake itself. I was just taking a look at the road layouts to see how a small town would generally have its roads placed. I was quite surprised to actually see that the town that is around the Wolfgang Lake is surprisingly well organized. So it's definitely a planned town, and it has pretty much the what we call the battery layout going, where you have roads basically building a rectangle or a square. That way it's the plots are equal size, and it's just easier to manage for city planners and also for us. So although that's something that I wasn't expecting, it was a good insight into how I wanted to plan this area. So after putting down some roads, I decided that, considering this is the bank of a river, it might be a good idea to actually have some farmlands around here. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm just using the vanilla bushes to sort of create the borders of some farmlands. I'm not gonna go in to add the fertile land resource at the moment, because that's something that I will get back into later on. I might actually add some assets in here so that they look more like farmlands. I did play around a little bit with Surface Painter, but nothing looked really good, and Surface Painter doesn't have like a brush setting, so you can't really tell the game how dark or light you want a certain part of the land to look. So if I'm gonna place let's say gravel, for example, it's all gonna be gravelly. If I put down concrete, for example, it'll be completely concrete. So I wanted to show this area as a little bit withered, because even though I have placed dirt roads, they look very clean, they look very well maintained and everything, which is fine, which could be the case in reality, but I wanted to show this area as a little bit withered. So what I decided to do was leave a large chunk of land with trees in them to show that this part of the farmland hasn't been cultivated, it hasn't been worked on. So the trees haven't been cut down, or they've started growing. And also to show the overgrowth, I started adding some vegetation. So yeah, I think I'll leave it here for this episode. When we come back in the next episode, I'll lay down some of the roads of the town, and I will start terraforming and building the farmlands and the sort of village area that I prepared at the moment. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here for now. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback, any comments, leave them down below, and I will definitely take a look at them. Do subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And it seems like we are running out of life. So yeah, let's see where we respawn. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.